Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode. Today, we are going to be taking a look at Lagavulin 16. This is one of the most infamous scotches in the world. I mean, if you're into the world of whiskey and you haven't heard of Lagavulin, I'd be very, very surprised. Well, before we begin though, I wanted to introduce, we have Julian Melnick joining us for today. And also, if you guys are into video games, please be sure to check out his YouTube channel. He just recently hit 2,500 subscribers. So we are super excited about that, and we're going to be celebrating today by doing one of the smokiest scotches out there in the market with Lagavulin. So why don't you tell me a little bit about what your channel is about, so then that way they can know.
Yeah, so I'm a video gaming channel. I'm all about console gaming, getting into PC gaming a little bit, but it's just all about that positive environment. Video games are a great way to pass time, something I love. I love storytelling, and the passion that I've developed for video games is based on my passion for cinema, film, all that stuff, and finding that in video games and sharing that with everyone else. So try to help people find that out, and this is my favorite scotch.
Oh, that's awesome. So you have tried this before?
I have tried the Lagavulin 16. It's very exciting. It's been a long time, so this will be really exciting.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and hop in. So if you have noticed, I've drinking at least a little bit here. So if you guys already know, I started YouTube about a year ago. Actually, a year ago today.
Oh.
That this was my very first bottle that was gifted to me by my mother. And this was one that as soon as I opened it up, I gave the reaction that YouTube wants everybody to have, you know, just the whole coughing, wheezing. What is this? This smells like dead bodies. But that was beginner me. So now we're at a spot right now where I'm this far down, but I have a love and appreciation for this scotch. So let's go ahead and hop into this and pour us a dram and go into it. And if you guys are new to the world of whiskey, I definitely say Lagavulin is a great one to try. Granted, it is an acquired taste because it is very smoky. The process for Islay is that Islay has a lot of peat, which is rotting moss. And that is going to be on the island, and it is abundant everywhere. So what happens is, while they're drying out the barley, they dry it out by putting peat in the kiln, which the smoke will come up and dry the barley that's in a higher level. And once that goes up into the chimney, it seeps into the barley, and that's where we get a lot of that smoke from. And boy, is it ever present in this. And most Islay scotches are going to be known for that smokiness. So a lot of different distillers do a lot of different things. So be sure to try multiple ones, because there's Ardbeg, there's Laphroaig. Actually, fun fact, Lagavulin, Ardbeg, and Laphroaig are all within a mile of each other. So if you end up going to Islay, you can actually walk from distillery to distillery, doing a tasting, walk to the next one, do another tasting, and you don't have to drive. Be safe about that, which is great. But, Julian,
yes,
let's go ahead and go into the nosing here.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
When I first smelled this a year ago, the first thing that immediately came to mind was this toxic fingerprint that I had in preschool. I don't know why preschoolers had this, but it had this weird chemical smell to it. I was about to say taste.
Yeah.
I mean, I was also a preschooler at the time, so most likely I probably tasted it as well.
Yeah.
But it had this weird chemical smell to it, and that's what I immediately thought of. And when I showed it to my mother, who was a nurse for many years, she said she smelled a body that had just been recently just contained, or like a cadaver, and that's what it smelled like to her. So I was like, oh, did we just pick up the wrong drink? And then I realized, oh, you can't return whiskey once you buy it, or alcohol in general. So that was a crazy situation. So, but what we're getting now, after a year's worth of training, we're getting this campfire smell to it.
That's so good.
With, I want to say, like dried jerky.
Oh. Yeah, there's a smokiness to it. What I love about this one, I always, I think, like, video games, honestly, I'm not just doing that because it's on brand, but I imagine like a pirate ship that just like docked, and they're just like They just been through battle, but they have their big booty. They have all the bounty with them, and they're like, you know what? We're gonna be okay. Let the ship burn. And that's what this is. It's that bounty. They have it. They got it, and they're just gonna retire on that island.
Probably the perfect drink to play, or while you're playing Sea of Thieves.
Oh yes, with the Pirates of the Caribbean collaboration. Very excited for that. I love it so much. I remember the first time I smelt something along this line with this peat and all that, not understanding, how a very, very underdeveloped palate. I was like, it smells like Band-Aids and penicillin, and it was just because of that medicinal aspect to it with the peat.
Yeah.
And now this just smells like I want to drink it.
The one thing I noticed, and this was just a recent development with just the way that I nose, is that once I found out that they used to use, or they still use, ex-bourbon and ex-sherry casks, after you have your nose in here for a bit, the smell, the peatiness is still there, but then it becomes a little bit more subtle. But the longer that I keep my nose here, I notice sherry or wine finish.
Oh yeah! Oh my gosh! Yeah. Now that you say it,
and it is kind of like a dark fruit.
Yeah.
Kind of aspect to it. So it's like once the smoke kind of encompasses your nose palate, you're able to kind of like pinpoint a few things here and there.
Like plum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And funny enough is that I'm starting to get more sweetness. Like, I don't know, like if we're gonna go back to the dried jerky, I'm thinking like dried jerky with like a thin layer of crusted brown sugar.
Yeah, there's definitely an element, and you wouldn't think about it right out the gates because of how punchy it is. Like getting past that, it does take a little bit of work, or just understanding what you're smelling. But the wininess, for sure, I can now smell like just a rich, deep, like there's a dark, thick, syrupy wine almost.
Mm-hmm. It's only when you hang out there for a bit, you know?
Yeah.
Because if you just do this, okay, that's just smoke.
Yeah.
But when you just hang out there, it's amazing how much your nose can pick up after a while.
That's an advanced move. This isn't, I think everyone should definitely taste this, but this is not for the faint of heart. It is a very, very intense flavor. I mean, the nosing alone is aggressive for someone. I mean, your experience when you had it for the first time was just a tell alone. It's there's a complexity there that you need to, that understanding it, you know, it's like, oh, you want to try these crazy cheeses for the first time? Let's give you a blue cheese. And you're like, wait a second, it's a little aggressive.
Yes, an actually funny story about that is that there was a time where I was doing a whiskey tasting and I had tried an Isla and I didn't realize that it was an Isla, but then I took a bite of blue cheese. And that was like a double hitter,
yeah.
And it hurt so bad. Like I didn't know what to taste, and I didn't know what to do with my body because I was like, should I vomit? Should I throw up? I don't know.
That's a
but
lot.
That was one of my first tastings, but that was a wild ride. Well, let's go ahead and go into the tasting.
Oh yes.
If you're gonna get a reaction out of me, that was it.
That brings emotion, man. That's delicious.
Smoke is the name of the game.
Oh, yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's crazy. If it's the first time that you tried it, you will either love it, might hate it, but you know, you might have to get used to it like I did. But this, I don't know what it is, but it really does kind of give you a little punch in the face.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, it kind of like caresses you and it says, hey, don't worry. It's going to be okay. I'm going to hit you again, but give me a second.
It's abusive. Oh, that is so nice.
Mm.
For something that has quite an intense introduction, right? The first thing you do is you smell it. It is extremely, like, I don't know, there's warmth to it. It's smooth. The smokiness is there, but it's pleasant. It's not intrusive.
Right. I've noticed too that as far as like the mouthfeel goes, it's got this nice oiliness to it.
Yeah.
It coats the mouth and it wants to stay and it lingers, but it's like you said, it's not foul in any way.
No, it's really silky.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's tree bark. It's so funny explaining because it sounds negative, but this is 100% positive. Like every part of the smokiness, the ashiness, it's like that delicious crust you would find on the outside of like a brisket at a barbecue pit. Like that,
Yeah.
like you want that. You want those burnt ends, where burnt is usually a bad characteristic of cooking food. Burnt ends are delicious, and that's what you want at a barbecue pit. This, the smokiness, the woodsiness, the just intense campfire taste is exactly that burnt ends feel. It's so delicious and just so complex, but yeah, man, it's nice.
Oh, and I couldn't have said it better myself. This is definitely one that will always be in my cabinet now that I've drinking it and I've fallen in love with it. And if you guys ever get a chance to try this out, either by purchasing a bottle or by going to a bar and trying it out, please let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below. Definitely, I don't want to say beginners stay away from this. I want everybody to at least give it a shot. But, you know, I mean, when you first tried it,
Yeah.
what did you immediately think of it?
Well, I mean, so this wasn't my first more peaty scotch I had tried. When I first tried something peaty, I was like, there's no way I'm gonna like this. But when I first tried this specific one, I fell in love with it because I think that there are scotches that I feel like are peaty just for the sake of it. They're real punchy, they're real smoky, they have that heavy taste.
Oh.
This one is balanced. And I would say the 16 over, the 12 is gonna be a little bit smoother because it does have that age to it. And the price point isn't too insane. It's not a cheap bottle, but it's also not a break the bank bottle, So I mean, I think this thing is great. It's that middle high road of scotch, but probably should not be someone's first.
Right. And definitely talking about prices, it is a little difficult to try and find the best price for a lot of whiskey just in general, but at least for this bottle, I found it over at Costco for around $65, whereas I've seen it in other places for $90. So I'd say before just running to the store and picking up a bottle, take a look in your area first and see what might be the best option for you. That way, because I know I've been burnt before where I'm like, oh, that's a rare bottle. I'm just going to pick it up, and I go home and then I go into the, nearby Vons and I see it for on sale for $20 cheaper. I'm like, oh, no.
They'll get you.
So I'd say look around first and or just go to a whiskey bar and try it out.
Yeah.
But if you guys want to see more product reviews, I am going to be posting a whole lot more. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like it, please like and subscribe, and also let me know if you tried this below down in the comments. And also check out Julian on his gaming channel. I will link that down in the description below as well. But with that being said, though, we are all set. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for sharing this with me.
All right, guys, have a great rest of the day. Bye bye.